Hi, my name is Amrach Shinku, and I'm back again for the week 5 summary video of my learnings at Web3bridge Cohort 7. So last week we did a lot of things and we also wrote a lot of code. But then I'm going to try and summarize the things in the best way that I can. Also review a code base. So last week we discussed libraries, interfaces, factories, and we also wrote scripts for our smart contract. So what's a library? Just think of it as in Solidity, libraries are used for using code bases, in the sense that when you deploy a library, you can interact with that library multiple times without deploying it again. So, but in library, you can have an embedded library and a linked library. What this simply means that there are some libraries that you have to deploy, and there are some others that you don't have to deploy. So when you have internal and private functions in your library, they are embedded, so you don't have to deploy them. But then when you have external and public functions, then you have to deploy them and then interact with them. So whenever you have a code base that you use in many contracts, and you have to interact with them from many contracts. So it's best to make them a library such that you have to just deploy them once and interact with them as much as you like. And then we also talked about interfaces. So interfaces basically we just use it to define functions that you need to implement in your other contracts. So if you have a contract that you want to list the functions that you want to implement in that contract, so you can list those functions and their signature, and that means basically their declarations in an interface. Then when you are now implementing or inheriting the interface, you will have to, basically when you are inheriting the interface, you have to implement all the functions. But then when you are implementing, you basically won't have to implement all the functions. So but then, because factory contracts, basically think of a factory, a normal factory. Let me think of a plastic chair factory now. So it can comfortably produce plastic seats of the same size, type, and sometimes the same color and sometimes different color. So, but then what this simply means that there is already a mold there that you just need to probably set the number and then give it the raw material, and then it produces this factory. So in Solidity, what a factory contract does is you have a contract that you've already written, and then you have a factory for that contract. So what this factory actually does is it just produces that contract over and over again. So just think of it that way. Think of a plastic chair factory and just basically a factory. That's what factories does. So thinking of an implementation of it could be a multisig wallet, for an example now. So you might want to have produce different multisig wallets many times. So you just have to write the contract once and then give it the owners many times, different owners. Then you'll be able to have different multisig wallets. Or you can think of a piggy bank where you can just let people come save their money and then leave their money there for some time. Then whenever they want the money back, then the contract is destroyed. So you don't want to have many people saving in the same contract. You want to have each person for one piggy bank. So for you to now have that working, so you now have to, when someone comes to create a piggy bank, you generate a similar piggy bank through a factory. So it's just like everybody comes to generate a new contract, but it's always similar to the original parent contract. So, but then why doing this? Using something like a self-destruct should be you should be very, very conscious of using a self-destruct, because if you allow the cloned factories to be able to call a factory contract, because factories actually use the same bytes code. Once that bytes code is destroyed, all generated, both the original and all cloned contracts will be destroyed. So there's a workaround on that. I think I've gone over the few things verbally, so I'll just have to explain this code in front of me here. So this is a simple multisig wallet, and we wrote an interface for it and a factory, and we also wrote a script for it. So I won't really go over it line by line, but I'll just explain the whole concept. So a multi-sig wallet, just like the name sounds, a multiple signature wallet. That means that before the transaction is approved or whatever to execute a transaction, an amount of owners should be able to approve that transaction to take place. So let me say there is a multi-sig wallet of 5, and then the minimum required number of owners that should approve that transaction should be 3 or 2, basically. So that is what's actually happening in this contract. So before a transaction is approved, or before a transaction should be able to execute, a minimum number of owners should approve it to take place, else it will fail. So that's what a multisig wallet does. So so this withdraw wither, this allows an owner to withdraw anytime this contract. Then this valid owner, this checks if the person trying to call a function is a valid owner, and then this approve is the function that does the whole approving stuff, that keeps track of an ID of a particular transaction and approves or disapproves it. And then we have a contract balance. So at some point we want to know how much we have in our contract, so basically our wallet. So this is the main contract. So then we wrote a factory for it, and what the factory does is it creates different multisig wallets, provided the different owners, that's the different addresses that owns a particular multisig wallet. So here that's basically what this contract does. So it imports our main contract, which is a multisig.so, and then it's it then interacts with it here. So this is where the whole factory stuff happens. So this new multisig, taking notes that this is the exact name of the contract, our original contract here. So this new multisig, and the valid owners, this is an array of owners defined here. Where is it? Here, yeah. So this is an array of owners that we pass or define. We pass it into here. So we pass in an array of owners, and then because our multisig contracts in the constructor is taking an array of owners here. So while calling this function, while calling this contract, right, interacting with this contract, we provide that valid owners. So to create multisig wallets of different owners, we always pass different array of owners here. So that's basically what this one does. And then if everything works, then we push in the new contract created into this our multi signed addresses. So this keeps track of all our new created multisigs, and then at the end of the day we emit the new contract that was created and the length. Then this other one, this cloned addresses, is a contract, is a function from our multisig, our original contract. So somewhere here, so yeah, somewhere here, cloned addresses, no, it's not cloned addresses. Okay, cloned addresses is a function on its own, but then it's just returning. It's just returning this array of cloned addresses. Yeah. So then I think we can. So this is an interface. So it's just basically telling us function that we need to implement in our main contract. So this is withdraw the approve and contract balance, which we implemented here. So if we didn't implement it here, then it should be telling us we should declare this contract as abstract, or we should implement the function left to be implemented. So in our scripts, this is actually where we then try to interact with our factory. So so in this code basically deploys our factory contract and then interacts with it. So this is in JavaScript or TypeScript. Here we use TypeScript. So in this line, we're just getting valid signers, which is, I remember our multisig is a multisig of 5 of 3. So 5 owners, 3 minimum quorum. Yeah. So here we are getting signers. The addresses and the private key of the signers are stored in this variables in this array. So then we are now, this line of code is getting our factory contract, and this other one is deploying it, and this one is checking if our factory contract was deployed successfully. If so, then console.log factory contract deployed successfully and the address of the factory contract. Then this other line is getting the addresses. Remember here what's stored inside this array, these elements, is an object of the address and the private key. So but then here we only need the address, so we use the dot operator for objects. So we get the addresses of these 5 owners, and then that's what we store in our clone 2, and then we now browse our clone 2. Then this weights basically helps us get everything that we need. We are weights, and then the weight helps us get all the details that our request is coming back with, and then can just did a lot of things and then tried a lot of things out. So that's it for this week's video, and then look out for another video this time from me. Thank you.